Some of the most disturbing stories online don't come from movies or fiction, but from real people sharing things they claim actually happened to them. These stories were originally posted on Reddit, where users often remain anonymous, which makes it difficult to verify, but also makes them feel a lot more real. Whether you believe them or not, these are some of the most unsettling ones I could find. On November 24th, 2024, user Fed Up So Bed Up posts, "Hairstylist has been taking and keeping my hair. I'm weirded out. I'm also going to be vague because obvious reasons. I'm in my 30s, female, and my stylist is 40s. I got my hair cut today at a stylist I've been using for about 9 months now. I think this is my 6th appointment with them. I usually do a trim or cut/style. Today I went from long hair, high lower back, to an A-line bob. Again, since I started seeing this person, I usually get current style maintenance and trim. This time was a dramatic length adjustment. So they took a picture of the cut length in the floor to add to their social media, then intending to add before or after hours too. That's all totally fine and normal. They go grab a broom, sweep up the hair, and place the dustpan on the counter for a bit. Again, normal. They grab the broom and pan and head to the back of the shop. They're gone a few minutes, no biggie. Then they go out to smoke. But here's where it gets weird. The bathroom is in the back of the shop too. I need to go and step into the back. I don't really notice anything on the way into the bathroom. I go and start to head back out. But I notice my name on a small clear tote on the table. It has no lid, and it has my hair in it. At first I didn't really think much of it, but I look closer and see it's not just today's discarded hair, but looks like at least a few of my trim sessions, mixed with, it looked like potpourri and a little sand or something, and printed pictures of the cut hair with dates. The printer is sitting right next to it with today's discarded hair pick in the tray. There didn't seem to be any other containers like this when I looked around. It was freaking weird. So I took a pic on my phone. I honestly didn't know what to think or do and went back out into the salon. They came back in and I mentioned that I went to the restroom and they seemed to freak out a little but didn't mention it. I didn't really know what to say, so I just let them finish styling my hair, paid and left. As a socially anxious introvert, this was my nightmare. I got home and the more I looked at this picture, the more ick I got. I ended up texting them an hour ago, sending the picture and requesting they remove the weird box of me and asking for an explanation. I said, "Hey, so I saw this and didn't know what to make of it. Can you help me understand what this is and why you have it? I'm not comfortable with you having this and request you please discard the contents. Also, even though I loved my cut, I believe it's best if I find a different stylist." They haven't responded. Then about a week after, on December 1st, 2024, OP makes an update. It's been about a week. And with the holiday, I've all over the place, but I ended up going to law enforcement to to make a report last Monday. I'll likely end up going back if this person keeps contacting me like they have been. Sunday, I woke up to a bunch of texts from the stylist. It woke me up because even though I have DND on my phone, I have a setting that overrides that if there are repeated contact attempts over 3, in case of emergencies. Here's what I got. 3:49 a.m. I don't recommend going to a different stylist because of this. It's not a big deal. Small towns and people talk, and you may not find anyone that will take you after this. So I would reconsider. I don't like threats. 3:51 a.m. So I have your biological material and it's mine property now. I can do what I want with it. I kept it because I can, and it means a lot to me. 3:54 a.m. Why you send the pic? I know what it looks like. It's mine. 4 a.m. You need to respond to me because I think it's a misunderstanding about what this is. And you saying you're switching stylists has me triggered. I do good work. You said so. 4:04 a.m. I also charge a $350 client separation fee. So yeah, you can't just say you're switching stylists without consequences. And I know you said you already tried a few people before me. There are not many beauty people in the area. 4:11 a.m. Asking for an explanation for a stylist having hair in a salon is crazy. Where else would you find hair at? I didn't do nothing wrong, but I will get rid of it if you're going to cry about it. But only if you say you won't be switching to anyone else for your hair care. You mean a lot as a client and always tip well, and I do good work, so it doesn't make sense. And you know that, so maybe don't threaten someone who does your hair or hurt their heart by making accusatory statements. I didn't respond to any of those that morning because it was so insane to me. I need to process things fully before I make a decision on how to deal with it. So I just didn't respond. Sunday afternoon, I start getting phone calls. This person called me 14 times that afternoon. About every other call, they left a voicemail. Most of the voicemails just said, "Call me back," or "Text me back." But 2 of them were unhinged. I'm going to paraphrase, but the gist of the first one was, "Sounds like they're crying. Call me back, I'm getting scared you won't come back to me for your hair for real. I just like how your hair feels. That's why I kept it. Call me." The second unhinged message was left late Sunday night at 11:38 p.m. and it said, "I got rid of it, except for one lock. I found out I like watching your hair burn more than I liked keeping it." I didn't respond to any of those messages, calls or texts. The whole thing had me freaked out now. I'd decided by that time I was taking Monday off work to go to the police. Even if they couldn't do anything, I wanted a filed report of the weirdness. I woke up Monday to an email from the stylist with an invoice of $375 for client breach of contract fee as the chargeable line item. Again, copy and pasting here. The email body was just, "For being a bitch." It was sent from their business email too, so they're really doing everything they can to ruin themselves. Even if I had a contract with this nutter, which I don't, The original amount was for $350. They can't even get their extortion fees right. I did email them back stating that we had no contract and to cease all further communication with me from this point forward. I got ready and started heading to the police station around 9:45 Monday morning. I live in a rural area, so there are portions of my drive to and from our main town that doesn't have cell reception. When I finally got to town, I had 4 voicemails. I knew immediately who they were from. I talked to one of the officers on staff. They took my statement, a copy of the email, asked me to forward all the texts and screenshots of the numbers of calls. They said, at the least, the calls and texts could be considered menacing and harassment. But the voicemail where they mentioned how they liked burning my hair was potentially concerning. The officer advised I contact a legal representative in case this person tries to take the bogus invoice to a civil suit court. And they said I'm welcome to change my number, but having the piling evidence if they continue to contact me after I explicitly told them not to in the email would only help me. I reached out to a lawyer Tuesday and left a detailed message regarding the situation. They are apparently out of the office until next Wednesday for the holiday, so we'll see if they have any advice. I've since received many texts and calls from the stylist. They sent a happy Thanksgiving text on Thursday morning as well. Regardless, they are giving me a lot of evidentiary material to work with. But I'm so unsettled. I can't wait to hear from the lawyer this week. Understandably, many users tried to warn OP. OP, this person is an actual psychopath. Please keep yourself safe and aware. They could do some unexpected, unhinged shit at any moment, now that their obsession has turned on them. I'm taking every possible measure to prevent anything from occurring. But you're not far off the mark. This person is certainly not stable. I've found out more that I will include once I can confirm without doubt is true. But regardless, I really appreciate everyone's concern. I'm doing everything I am legally able to keep safe. Does this person own the salon? I'm sure your attorney is on all this. She may need psychiatric lockup too. Yes, they own the salon and are the only chair there. The lawyer I'm working with advised me well so far. I'm sharing what I can in regard to this person, their communications with me, and all allusions to their mental state is my own opinion in response to the communications I've had with them. That being said, the mental health treatment options in our area are sorely lacking. So if there is any person in need of that severe type of care, they will be hard-pressed to find it. Mini update. I woke up to new comments and requests for updates. Firstly, I am okay and safe for now. The person has continued to contact me on a regular basis via phone and email. I do have personal protection that I'm comfortable with and can wield with accuracy. But I'm nearly certain this person does not know where I live, so I don't anticipate any type of confrontation here. Our house and property has complete camera coverage as well. If anyone or anything shows up, we're well aware. I will be posting a more in-depth update with more texts and emails up to this point, and regarding a specific incident that happened on Friday, on Tuesday, I have an appointment to speak with another officer then to discuss the potential of criminal action and legal consequences for the stylist as a result. Thank you all for your concern and the validation that this is absolutely insane. I'll leave you with a text from this past week, one I think you'll all enjoy, use for a model of how not to make friends. Once again, copied and pasted. 5:12 a.m. December 4th, 2024. Don't never say never. You're never coming back, don't make me laugh. I don't want your ass back. You can beg me though. Might help. Again, a little over a week after, OP makes an update. Second update. I didn't expect the crazy amount of people following this. Here is the long-awaited post. Also, long post. Sorry for the delay. I think I mentioned before, I'm a processor, so it takes me a while to work through my thoughts and feelings on things. This situation and update may not be as satisfying as many would have hoped, but here it goes. I met with law enforcement again this past Tuesday. My husband and I drove over early that morning because I was also meeting up with the lawyer I'm working with. Aside from the near constant texts, calls and emails, I wanted to pursue legal action for a specific issue. Allegedly, the stylist had tried to have my credit card cancelled. Apparently, they used the last 4 digits of my card, called the customer service line for the card, and tried to cancel it. I got a call from the fraud department shortly after this person attempted to do this, trying to verify everything to see if I actually wanted to close my account and dissolve my credit line with them. To be clear, the stylist was not successful in their alleged attempt. They couldn't provide the basic information you need for such things like my actual last name. It's unusual, and they gave a name that was almost similar. Date of birth, address, etc. Apparently, they thought they could accomplish this with just my name, phone number, and the last 4 digits of the card number. I didn't cancel the card, but did request a new one, for obvious reasons. I had no clue why they would want to cancel my card. To inconvenience me? Yeah, that's exactly why. Allegedly. When I spoke with the CC company, they agreed to send over the recording of the person that called, as well as the phone number the call originated from, as long as the request came from law enforcement with a warrant. They gave me a phone number and reference number for the police to reach out to directly. The officer began working on that immediately, so that is in progress. I went to my phone company over the weekend. I had my phone number transferred to an old phone so I could still receive calls and texts there, but got a new phone number for my actual phone. The old phone and phone number has been turned over to the officer assigned to my case. They did go and speak with this person yesterday. Apparently they are horrified. I went to the police and had no idea any of their crazy could be chargeable offences. According to the officer, there have been no further communications via text or call since their visit, and I haven't received any other emails. A temporary protection and no contact order has been issued against them until the first court date. I have also reached out to the State Board of Licensing with all this information and my complaints. All I can say is they are investigating. Outside of that information, I'm limited on any other information I can share, since the legal process against this person has officially begun. We're just waiting to see how this all plays out now. It's been a long few weeks. I'm hoping for the best here. I'm already so relieved to no longer be getting calls, texts, or emails constantly. Thank you for all the concern, advice, and good wishes. This was meant to be an outlet for me to vent and process, and I'm so grateful that you have allowed me to do that. With the huge amount of support you have given, many expected that would be the end of it. But several months later, OP comes with a final update. I'm unsure how satisfying or inflammatory this will be, but I've received tons of comments, DMs, and overall requests for an update. Fair warning, this will be long. I've been reluctant to revisit any of this for a few reasons, all selfish. In general, none of what happened over that last year or so was fun. There was a legal process in which I was granted a 1-year restraining order against the stylist. This process took a while to get to court and be heard, with continuations for various reasons. But here is the gist of what happened. The stylist showed up to all of the court proceedings, had a variety of allegedly fabricated evidence to show the court that I was the one harassing them. They had supposed screenshots of texts from my number, threatening to harm them, calling them names, threatening to show up at their business and burn it down. The issue with this evidence? The phone number the texts were coming from was on the phone that was in possession of the officer on my case. I'd already gotten a new phone number by the time these texts were being sent. The officer had a certified readout of the phone's activity while in his position, and no calls or texts were outgoing after I surrendered that phone. There were none. The stylist seemed very surprised by that information. I don't think they ever considered that I might get a new phone or number. The stylist implied that I had someone else do it, or that I spoofed it from my new number and tried to demand my new number as part of the discovery of evidence. That was not granted. I did have to have law enforcement do another certified review of my current phone, and to protect us further, my husband's phone as well, showing that I or anyone I was in contact with had not downloaded any spoofing software to use against this person or attempted to contact them. That felt icky, but was necessary and also very validating. They did have a lawyer, but the lawyer seemed very cowed. I really believe the representation was not confident in their case, especially with the texts and calls this person was said to have received. The tone, grammar, and language used in those communications were not native to the way I speak or text. I hate text speak and rarely use it, especially with anyone I'm not intimately familiar with. The evidence they presented with the text was riddled with it. I do use slang, bestie, but if I don't know you well, you're getting my customer service communications. All that to say, whomever was sending those texts were not me. I don't care to speculate about who did send them, but they read like bad cop dramas. Ultimately, the bench trial was in my favour. The stylist was given no contact with a 1-year restraining order, ordered to pay all my legal fees and a small monetary amount. To date, that has not been settled. On to the aftermath. A few weeks go by and things took a turn. Random notes on my car would pop up when I would go grocery shopping about what a bitch I am and I'll get what's coming to me. Vehicles slowing down in front of our house and throwing eggs or honking their horn over and over in the middle of the night. I'm not stupid, I know who it is. And now they have my home address with all the RO filings. Thankfully, I also have cameras everywhere on my property. I would call the cops. They'd say they would look into it. It would continue. My tyre got slashed when I was at dinner with my husband. The restaurant did not have any cameras at an angle that would show us who. But I have a good idea. Their salon location was only 2.5 blocks away. Small towns can be great until everyone and their mama knows where you are when you're in town. This goes on for months. We make a report for each and every instance and occurrence. Finally, the cops really started looking into it more. We gave them everything we had. The car on our footage was not registered to Stylist. When the cops went knocking at the owner's house, they claimed they were paid to go "piss off this bitch" by Stylist, but thought it was a prank situation. They were cited for vandalism and disturbing the peace and were trespassed from our property. Their car was never near our property again after that. Stylist was brought in for violating the restraining order. I thought it would be over. It was essentially a slap on the wrist. Cycle continues. Stylist finally spends a few nights in jail after the 5th or 6th instance of violation. Then Stylist files a lawsuit for defamation of character against me for, get this, $200,000. According to Stylist, my defamatory remarks cost them their clientele and license. I didn't know it, but their license had been suspended. I guess my report to the licensing bureau worked. Stylist claimed I cost their yearly salary of $200,000. What small-town stylist makes this? And demanded reparations for defamation, claiming that my restraining order was granted under false evidence and cost them their reputation and livelihood. I contact my lawyer again, and we start our defense. Lawyer does all the lawyer things. I'm advised I can countersue at this point, but I just want everything to be over. The case doesn't see a judge for a while. We go. Both sides are heard. Case is dropped without prejudice. At this point, we've had enough. Once a restraining order is up for renewal, we make a different choice. We moved. We sold our house, traded in our old cars and dipped. I didn't want this person to ever have access to me or mine again. It has been about 5 months in our new home, and things have been exponentially more peaceful. But I'm so pissed off that it came to us moving. I loved our house, our community, and the area we lived in. I'm sorry I hadn't updated. I just really hate thinking about this one time I had a weird as hell encounter with my hairstylist that led to nearly a year of hell. So that's it. That's the update. I had time today. It's a new year separate from the crazy. So here it is. And honestly, that's all I'm giving after everything. I just want to forget it. A month later, OP makes an edit to give more updates. So, while the notes, tyre slashing and egging was happening, the stylists found themselves in a bit of a pickle, which is what ultimately helped us get police to act and arrest. The community FB page started posting about some nut job was vandalizing cars and houses and harassing people. I guess one of the folks who worked at the courthouse/sheriff's office, they're in the same building, kept seeing all the reports I was making about my car, house, and all the other stuff. Like I said, small towns are fun. They were nosy enough to want to gossip about it, but not enough to look into it and see that it was only one family in the community being victimized by the nut job. The post, of course, had everyone up in arms and claiming they were victimized too, but never reported it because they didn't know it was happening to others. At first, it didn't click that it was my situation that everyone was talking about, until it was mentioned that tires were slashed at popular local restaurant. But you know who clocked it right away and couldn't help themselves in commenting? The stylist. They commented on every post about the psycho targeting people like this, with stuff like, "You need to stay out of it. You don't know what these people have done to have this happen to them. Maybe they aren't so innocent and deserved it." They also were calling out people who claimed to be a victim too, with stuff like, "You know damn well that's a lie. Nothing happened to you." Because, duh, Stylist was only targeting me and had to defend themselves. They always commented variations of the same thing on every comment, calling them crazy and the shitty person. Chat, when I say Stylist got dog-walked in the comments, I'm not exaggerating. It was one of the most validating moments during the worst part of the whole ordeal. People called them vile for trying to defend someone who was clearly crazy and a garbage human being, was flamed for victim blaming, had their business page reported and rate bombed by keyboard warriors. Because of course, Stylist was commenting on the posts using their business profile and was subsequently banned from the page. Their business, FB, had a 1-star rating and eventually disappeared. I stayed out of all of this completely, never revealing I was the person they were defending, just taking never screenshots of the Stylist's responses for later evidence. The posts eventually got removed after I gave all the screenshots of the post to the detective working my case, with them verifying and taking their own screenshots from the official sheriff's office account. And the sheriff had a talk with the court employee about posting stuff they see that comes across their desk. The worker had very proudly began their posts with, "I work at the courthouse and this is happening in the community," and were told under no uncertain terms to refrain from that type of action moving forward. Anyway, this was probably the only genuinely funny thing to happen during the hell I was living through, and I thought I'd share. Thanks again for all the support and well wishes. We are okay now, and working to rebuild the happiness we had before in a new place. On April 29th, 2024, user ThrowRA3258 makes a now deleted post titled, "My 32 female boyfriend, 35 male, of 6 years disappeared while I was out of town, and I don't know what to do. Last Tuesday evening, I, 32 female, came home from a being out of town for 2 weeks for work. My boyfriend, 35 male, Nate, was supposed to pick me up from the airport, but once I got in, I wasn't able to get a hold of him, and he never showed up. I was a little annoyed, but No too worried because I figured he had fallen asleep. When I talked to him earlier that morning, he said he didn't sleep very well the night before and was going to lay down before he had to come get me. So I called my sister for a ride home. When I got home, Nate was nowhere to be found. I checked the garage and his car was gone. So I sent him a text asking where he was and headed upstairs to unpack. When I opened the closet to put my things away, I saw that almost all of his clothes were gone. At this point, I'm confused, so I start calling him. It just keeps ringing and then going to voicemail. I check his office and everything is still there. Everything in the house is still there and in place, except his clothes and his car. I'm really starting to freak out at this point, so I call my sister and she comes over, and we both try calling and messaging him and still get no answer. His computer and his laptop are both still in his office. I logged onto his computer and my sister his laptop. I know all his passwords. But we didn't find anything out of the ordinary. So I started searching his desk and found his iPad in the top drawer. I logged into it and checked everything I could think of and found nothing out of the ordinary. My sister suggested checking the Find My iPhone app on his iPad to see if we find out where his phone was. We logged into the app and see that his phone was pinging in the next state over. I started calling him again, but still got no answers to my calls or text. I really start to lose it here. My mind starts going all over the place, trying to figure out what could be going on. I called the police because I think someone has to have done something to him. The police came out, but they said there wasn't much they could do because he hasn't been gone long and his clothes missing was sign that he left on his own violation. Over the last few days, I've done everything I can to contact him. He doesn't have any family except for a brother that he cut ties with before I met him. I found him online and sent him a message, but he said he hasn't seen or heard from Nate in years. I keep checking his phone's location, and since Saturday morning, it has been pinging in the same location in the PNW. I took off work for the rest of the week, and my sister and I are flying up there to go to the location his phone is pinging. Has anyone ever dealt with something like this before? How do I even confront him? What if he is with another woman? What if he isn't there? Or worse? I am so lost and hurt right now. My mind is all over the place. I can't think straight. I'm so lost right now. Many people started suggesting that OP go to police or his contact friends. So OP makes an edit. Edit. Yes, I have called or messaged all of his friends. None of them have seen or heard from him. I do have access to his bank account as we have a joint account, but not his business account. He last used his debt card Friday night in a town west of Seattle, Washington. He owns his own business, but has taken a step back over the last year, so he doesn't communicate with them regularly. They haven't heard from him since last month. I am 5 months pregnant, and we have known for 3 months. He did become a bit reserved and withdrawn since we found out, but it's not uncommon for him to do that every so often, especially around this time of year. I don't truly believe that he would abandon me and his child. That's just not the type of man he is. But I don't know what to think anymore. Then periodically, OP began giving new updates. Small update. First, I want to say thank you to everyone for suggesting the welfare check. We called the department where his phone is pinging, and they have sent someone over to see if they can make contact with him. It's been over an hour, and we are still waiting to hear back. I am hopeful, but still have an overbearing sense of dread. All I want to know right now is that he is okay, and I can figure out everything else later. I just need to know he is okay. Update. The police were able to do a welfare check, and although they were unable to make direct contact with him, they spoke to the couple who live at the house. They said they were old family friends, and that he was there on Friday and Saturday, but that he went to the Olympics Sunday morning to go hiking for a couple of days. The officers informed them of what was going on, and they told him they believed he was okay and that they would contact me tonight to try and help explain the situation. What does that even mean? I am even more confused. Our flight to Seattle is at 9:45 a.m. tomorrow, and at this point we are still going. I hope these people do call, but it's been a while now and I haven't heard anything. New update. I think this will be my final update. I have to get ready and get my stuff packed for the flight in the morning. I have just spent the last hour speaking to the couple whose house he was at, and they, against his wishes, told me what is going on. They have known Nate since he was 12 years old. He started dating their daughter Ashley when they were in 6th grade, and they continued dating all through middle school and high school. Ashley got pregnant toward the end of their senior year, and they got engaged. I don't know how to even write this next part. When their son was 1.5 years old, they were involved in an accident with a drunk driver. Nate was ejected from the car, and Ashley and his son passed away in the accident. She said that he blames himself for it, because according to him, they were never supposed to be out that night, and it was his fault they were. She said he withdrew from them and everyone else, and that up until last Friday, they'd hadn't heard from him since he left. She has offered to come get my sister and I from the airport in the morning, and she can try to answer any questions I have while we wait for him to return. She said they know where he is. He is at the spot they spread their ashes. She said he told her that he need be with his son one more time before he let him go. I'm honestly in a total state of shock right now. I don't know what to think, but I know he is in pain and I need to get to him, and I can figure everything else after. Thank you to all the kind people who reached out and offered your suggestions. I honestly don't think I would have this information right now if it wasn't for you. So, again, thank you. A little over a week later, on May 9th, 2024, OP makes an official second update post. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who reached out and offered your advice and help. On the other hand, the people who were just mean, or all the men who came into my messages, you should be ashamed of yourselves. We did fly out to Seattle last Tuesday morning. Kathy, the wife of the couple, picked us up from the airport and took us back to their place. On the way there, she said her husband was on his way to go find Nate so he could bring him back, but it would likely be a few hours before they would arrive back. As we waited, Kathy did her best to answer some of the questions that I had. I knew Nate lost his mum at a young age to breast cancer, but she said it had a deeply profound effect on him, and he became a very troubled child. She said that when him and Ashley met, that Nate was in a group home, I did not know this. Because he was in a lot of trouble for fighting and drug use. He was 12. I was kind of taken back by this because I've never known him to do anything besides smoke marijuana from time to time. He doesn't even drink. She said that when they met, Ashley immediately took on the role of protector of him. She could feel his pain and she wanted to rescue him from it. When they finally got to know him, they decided that they would take Nate in if he wanted that once he was out of the group home. When he was 16, he finally got out of the group home, but was still on probation, so he had to live with his dad, who was an alcoholic and abusive. But he would spend most evenings and weekends at their house. He still got in trouble because he kept failing his urine analysis for marijuana, but he was no longer getting into fights. He credited Ashley for that and felt like she and her family were the only people besides his mum to ever show him any compassion or love. She asked if I would like to see pictures of them, and when she showed me the picture of Nate holding his son for the first time, I broke down, because I have never seen him in the 6 years we have been together with a smile like that. He was so happy. He smiles now from time to time, and he is always laughing. But I've never seen that smile, that gleam. It just broke me to know that he had been living in that much pain for 15 plus years and hid it from everyone. We looked through more pictures and she told more stories and spoke of how sad she was when he left. We talked for hours, and then finally her husband came through the door, but Nate was not with him. George, Kathy's husband, said that he had found Nate where he was supposed to be, and explained that my sister and I were at their house waiting for him. He said when he told him this, that Nate laughed and said, "Of course," and that he would head back. He just needed a few more minutes alone. So we waited for what felt like forever. And finally, a little over 2 hours after George arrived back, Nate walked in the front door. He looked at me, and the first words out of his mouth were, "I should have known my note wouldn't be good enough, and that you would come find me. I love you, and I am very sorry." I said, "What note?" And he said, "The one I put in your front seat." "You put in my car?" I never even thought to check there for anything. I am going to leave out a lot of this next part because it's very personal. But I asked him why he would just leave me at the airport and why he wouldn't just call or text me that he was leaving. He said that while I was gone, he wanted to put some of the things that we had gotten for the baby in the nursery and start painting it before I got back. And that everything was fine until he started putting together the dresser and the changing station. While he was doing that, he was flooded with memories of his son and Ashley, and that it actually knocked him off his feet and he broke down. He said every time he closed his eyes, he saw them. That's why he couldn't sleep. He said he decided to take mushrooms to try and help get him out of it. What? But all that did was make things worse. And he realized that he needed to not forget them and not hide them. And that he needed to go make peace with them and ask them to forgive him for abandoning their memory. He knew that when I got home, that I would obviously know something wasn't right with him. And he also didn't know how to tell me he had been hiding a huge part of his past. Anyway, he expressed how sorry he was, and that he understood if all of this was too much, and if I didn't want to be with him anymore, that he would completely understand. I let him know that as long as he agreed to never hide something from me, or disappear again, and would agree to go to therapy and couples therapy, that I wouldn't be going anywhere. He promised he would do whatever I asked of him. I asked him to fly back with me, and my sister called her husband to fly in, and they would drive his car back. So we are back home now. He hasn't started therapy yet, but has an appointment next week. Our baby is doing okay, and so am I. I just need him to be okay, and everything will be good again. Anyway, thank you again to all the kind hearts who reached out. You gave me a lot of positive vibes in a dark time, and I really can't thank you enough for that. On December 7th, 2024, a user posts on the Am I the Arsehole subreddit of relationship. Am I the asshole for breaking up with my boyfriend after he chose me in an ultimatum? Me and my boyfriend have been dating for 2 months. We have so much in common. He's super sweet and always goes the extra mile for me, with grand romantic gestures, even asking me out by buying me my favourite comic book and leaving a sticky note between the pages, confessing his feelings. I've never gotten anything but amazing vibes from him this whole time until now. However, BF has a childhood friend, 27 female, I'll call Sid. My boyfriend was very upfront when we started dating that he and Sid had romantic feelings for each other in the past, but decided it would be best if they only stayed friends, since they didn't want to risk their friendship. I never actually met Sid before and have only heard about her from boyfriend, and vice versa. About 2 weeks ago, my BF texted me, super distraught, telling me that Sid called him, saying that she was too jealous of my and BF's relationship, and that she couldn't stand being BF's friend while he was in a happy relationship with me. She basically gave BF an ultimatum of him having to break up with me, or she would cut him out of her life. I was baffled by this, thinking that this 27-year-old woman, who had mutually agreed with BF that they would never date, was so childish to give him a ridiculous ultimatum. And I voiced that to him. He got mad at me, saying it's not that simple, and seemed to be seriously considering breaking up with me just to stay friends with Sid. I was in disbelief that he couldn't see how manipulative and abusive this was, and that the obvious conclusion would be to cut her off, since she was clearly toxic and controlling. But he was still on the fence, and we ended up taking a break and not talking while he thought it over. The next week and a half, he barely talked to me, telling me he's in a very hard place, while I became increasingly frustrated that this would even be a hard choice. Like we're in a happy relationship and he's debating breaking up because his crazy friend can't handle her jealousy. I was fuming. He then finally came to me after that time of not talking, saying he decided to choose me and leave his friendship with Sid behind. But by that time, I was so mad that it was even a choice that took 2 whole weeks to decide to begin with, that I ended up breaking up with him anyway. Now his friends are telling me I'm an asshole for not breaking up with him sooner, because now Sid is still cutting him out for picking me over her, and I'm still leaving him. Whereas if I had broken up with him during the weeks he was thinking it over, he would have at least been able to stay friends with Sid. But honestly, I didn't even realize how mad I was until he picked me and made it seem like he was some kind of martyr for doing so. Am I the asshole? Sometime a month later, Opie makes an update on the same post. Update. Apparently, Sid has completely cut ex-boyfriend off and blocked him on everything. He is begging me to take him back, even contacting my friends to attempt to convince me. Luckily, all my friends are telling him to F off. He wrote me some 2,000-word essay on how I'm the best thing that ever happened to him, and that he was blinded by his happy childhood memories of Sid. I also found out they slept together in the past before we started dating. So, that's cool. But it was just a one-night stand to see what could have been. Either way, he was definitely hiding more about his relationship with Sid than I was told. I don't really care anymore. I'm not taking him back. He's a grown-ass man who should have known better than to ghost me for 2 weeks, to think it over, as if things would be the same after he decided to pick me. Doubt anything else interesting will happen, but I might update if it does. I'm honestly just hoping this will be a reality check for him, and he'll get the message. At least his friends have stopped bothering me. Then almost 10 months later, on September 26th, 2025. I broke up with my ex 10 months ago, but he will not get over it. Despite me wishing to no longer interact with my ex, as well me as dating someone new, Cole, my ex has been trying to win me back by doing over-the-top things like sending me gift baskets, love letters, chocolates, etc. Even though I've blocked his number on all social media and always ignore his attempts to woo me with his gifts. He never actually interacts with me directly, never waits for me outside or tries to talk to me. He just leaves me gifts at our doorstep and runs away. It's creepy and makes me super uncomfortable. Cole, who I live with, doesn't actually see an issue with this and says he feels bad for my ex and doesn't want me to waste my ex's money/efforts. So I reluctantly just let Cole eat the chocolates and other crap, since he insists I don't throw them out. He even likes reading the love letters, even though I tell him I don't want to. I don't understand why he's so chill about this, because my ex and Cole aren't even friends and have never interacted. So it makes no sense why he's so okay with my ex doing these dumb gestures that he knows make me uncomfortable and creeped out. If anything, Cole should be pissed off that someone is trying to steal his girlfriend, right? Anyway, all of this finally came to a head on my birthday. After work, I came home to our apartment, decorated in balloons, chocolates and flowers. I'm immediately touched, thinking all of this was a surprise from Cole. Nope. Apparently my ex actually came over with all this crap, buzzed our apartment doorbell. Cole let him in and allowed my ex to decorate our apartment and leave gifts for me. Then my ex left before I could get home. Cole apparently saw no issue with this. He literally let my ex into our apartment like it was no big deal, because my ex came all the way with all these gifts, which was such a thoughtful gesture. Now I feel totally unsafe. What if my ex secretly left a hidden camera or something? I have no idea why Cole is so fine with all of this. I've talked to him over and over, and he won't understand why I would want to reject free stuff from someone who cares about me. I love Cole, but the fact that he actually let my ex into our apartment was a huge breach of my trust. and I have no clue how to deal with this. Is this relationship just unsalvageable? Or is there a way I can get it through Cole's head that none of this is okay? Could Cole have ulterior motives by letting my ex do all of these things? Any advice is welcome. I just have no clue how to handle this absurd situation. Thanks.
Edit. Thank you for all the insight, everyone. I really appreciate it. I don't have the money to do everything that was recommended, but I am going to do some investigating into Cole and my ex, possibly being in cahoots with each other, and confront Cole this weekend, likely to end this clusterfuck of a relationship. If there's any interest, I'll update if anything significant happens. Thank you again. When I got back home on Friday, I tried to come up with a good plan to keep myself safe while I confronted Cole, in case he were to do something scary. A lot of people put the fear of God into me in the comments of my last post. I invited my very tall and intimidating younger brother over to be there while I talked to Cole. My brother couldn't come over until Sunday, so I spent a day and a half awkwardly trying to pretend everything was fine. But I must have done a shit job because Cole kept asking me what was wrong and love-bombing me. Eventually Sunday came around. My brother showed up, and we grilled Cole about why the hell he's been so fine with my ex coming around with gifts and even letting him in to decorate our apartment for my birthday. I was not ready. All of you had a lot of theories. One of which came up a lot was that the two knew each other and/or were working together to do this. If anything, I would have rather that been the case, because the truth is so much more fucked up. Basically, Cole has been fixated on my ex. He has essentially been stalking my stalker. Cole admitted that he made fake social media accounts, yes, multiple, to follow my ex, and has been stalking his Instagram and Facebook. Apparently, my ex has been making a lot of vent posts about me and how hurt he is that I'm not returning his feelings and have moved on so fast. And Cole has been egging him on his alt accounts to get my ex to keep trying. The reason my ex is still stalking me is because Cole has been literally telling him to on his fucking alt accounts. It's obvious my ex is unstable if he's listening to random strangers telling to keep trying, and Cole is taking advantage of his instability by planting thoughts into his head. If I'm to believe Cole's words, my ex has no idea that it's Cole that's been encouraging him to keep pursuing me, but I can't be certain about anything this guy says at this point. So why, you ask, was Cole doing all of this? That is exactly what my brother and I asked. This was his answer. To give my ex false hope. Basically, to bully him. Anytime my ex angst posted on his social media about me, Cole got some sick satisfaction out of watching his misery. He wanted to string my ex along, to keep trying to win my heart, just to watch him fail over and over. Cole finds it hilarious that my ex is wasting so much money on gifts for me, and that it's him who eats the chocolates and reads the desperate love letters my ex sends to me, while I act like my ex's gifts are radioactive and avoid them. This has all been some sick game to see how long he can get my ex to keep pining for me. Who the hell even does this? I've been living in fear for months because Cole thinks it's funny to manipulate my ex and watch him be heartbroken. I cannot articulate how sick all of this is. How is this funny? What is wrong with him? He said he makes sure not to go too far by discouraging my ex to make direct contact with me. But I can't believe anything anymore. I've read so many stories of people who were dating someone who seemed so sweet initially, but turned out to be actually unhinged. But I naively never thought that could be me. I was so careless and dumb because I clung to someone who finally treated me with kindness. But he is a twisted man who turned my ex into a monster by feeding his delusions. I think if he hadn't done all this, my ex probably wouldn't still be stalking me in the first place. My constant fear and discomfort have just been an unfortunate byproduct of his little game of puppetry. I can't even comprehend how someone could do something like this. I'm so shaken up. I feel like I'm spiraling. Suffice to say, I'm living with my brother and his girlfriend while my ex gets the hell out. I told him he needs to move out within the week or I'm getting the cops involved. He didn't make a fuss or anything, surprisingly. He just looked at the floor like a kicked puppy. He hasn't even tried to call or text me, but I blocked him just in case. I'm going to see if my landlord can understand my situation and let me break lease early with no extra cost. But if I can't, my brother is going to cover the extra cost in the meantime, and I'll stay with him and his girlfriend until I can find somewhere else. My brother is seriously a godsend. I'm definitely going to go back to therapy as soon as possible because this whole situation has me unable to sleep at night, trust anyone, and I really need a better understanding of what are red flags in relationships. So many of you told me I was a pushover, and you're all right. It shouldn't have taken this long for me to call this relationship with Cole off. This is so fucked up, but I'm safe for now. I don't know what I'd do without my brother and his girlfriend. Thanks to everyone who told me to get out of this relationship, because Cole was way more twisted than I ever could have thought. I don't even know if he told the whole truth, but I don't even care anymore. I'm out, gone, never looking back. Around 11 hours later, OP makes an edit. Edit. Thank you everyone for your advice and words of encouragement. I called the non-emergency police line to file a report of all this. It wasn't super helpful other than just making a record, so I'll do a follow-up with them once I have safe access to my apartment and can collect evidence. I unblocked Cole for now to gather any text evidence, as some of you suggested, but he's been pretty quiet. He sent a photo of a couple of garbage bags full of his stuff, and he asked if he could have a day to say goodbye to my cat. I have her with me currently at my brother's place. No way am I letting her near him. I haven't replied yet. I turned read receipts off. Haven't contacted X1 yet. Still figuring out the best way to do that. Tomorrow is a stat holiday where I live, so my brother and his girlfriend will be home from work. We are working together to figure all this out. Definitely moving out of my current place as soon as I can. Sorry I can't reply to all the comments. I'm still pretty overwhelmed and anxious, and there are so many that it's frying my brain. But I'm trying to read most of them. I appreciate every one of you though. The final update comes a week later on October 6th, 2025. Here are the highlights. Cole has moved out. Locks have been changed.
still looking for a different place to move into. The housing market here is awful. I've been staying with my brother, despite Cole having moved out, because I don't feel safe in that apartment. We have a nice arrangement at my brother's place, with me buying half the groceries and cooking 3 times a week. Kitty is now comfortable here. She was hiding under the bed for like 3 days. Still not sleeping well, but I'm safe, so that's what matters. I haven't talked to the police since before. I just couldn't find enough evidence in my apartment to make any kind of case since I threw out most of my stalker ex's gifts. Here's a pretty big update. Stalker X has been informed of Cole's doings. I'm just going to start calling Stalker X James to make things easier. My brother contacted James on Facebook and told him what's been going on. We didn't have physical proof of what Cole did, nor the names of his alts, but we knew enough specific details that it seems James believed us. I've been vetting everything my brother has been sending. James has informed that he checked, and most of the accounts that were encouraging his stalking have been deactivated. So it further backed our story, and it seems like Cole is covering his tracks. Probably anticipated this. From the conversation, it seems that James has been wary of Cole ever since Cole let him into my apartment for my birthday. He said he didn't actually want to come into the apartment and just wanted to leave the gifts and decor with Cole. But Cole insisted he came in, and that made him feel super awkward and uncomfortable. He was worried that Cole was trying to coax him inside my apartment in order to hurt him, because the way he was acting was really off. He did his best to be in and out as fast as possible, because apparently Cole just gave him bad vibes. Anyway, James seems pretty shaken. He didn't put 2 and 2 together that Cole was the one encouraging his behaviour, but was starting to get frustrated by the encouragement, which James said bordered on harassment, because one of Cole's alts would spam his DMs with ideas and asking for updates, and it was getting really intrusive. Why did it take this many months for him to finally feel this way? He apologised and promised he would leave me alone, telling me that this situation has him really shaken up. Smells like he wants pity, but I'm not falling for that. I don't know if I believe everything James said. I think he may have tried to play up his negative feelings about this in order to gain sympathy from my brother, and me by proxy. But who knows? I'm not going to talk to him. That's hopefully it for the James side of things. On Cole's side, he has been mostly quiet, but something did freak me out. After I told James about what Cole did, Cole sent these texts. Why did you give James my number? Note, I didn't. Not sure how James got his number. What the hell is wrong with you? Why did you tell him and give him my number? Note, again, I only did the former, not latter. Seriously? This is freaking ridiculous. He's blowing up my freaking phone, piece of shit. You're such a petty bitch for this. Bloody freak. That was 3 days ago. Haven't heard anything from Cole since. Haven't replied to anything he sent. No idea how James got Cole's number, so that freaks me out. But that is currently not my problem. Went back to work today. Things are okay, but I'm still anxious. Will update here on my profile if anything develops, but things are stable for now.
I don't know if there will be much news now that James is informed and Cole is out. Hopefully, things will stay stable and I can go back to my life. Later, the user explained that someone had sent them a YouTube video featuring a Reddit narration of their posts. But the video included 2 updates that never actually happened and appeared to be generated by AI. They clarified that any claims about a car being tracked with an AirTag, going to court, or moving into a small apartment were completely false. They also expressed confusion about why someone would create an AI-generated version of their story to add a dramatic ending, especially since they are unable to drive due to having epilepsy. That's the end of this video. Check out my Patreon if you want to support the channel. Subscribe and like if you want to see more of this content. And as always, stay safe. Good night.